So let's talk about the match between Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. Again, this is going to be a match where it is going to be considered as the Spanish Super Cup final. It should be a very interesting match, but within this video, I do want to speak about the key battles, which will be a total of 3. And then later in the video, we're also going to be assessing the status of Moukoko and the status of Eric Garcia. Everything is going to be organized down below on the timeline. So if you guys want to skip to certain parts, you can. So again, everything will be organized. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you guys are new here, welcome to this Barcelona family. I'm happy that you guys are here. If you want to support this YouTube channel, please like this video and also subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So let's go into the conversation of the 3 key battles. And key battle number 1 will be Araujo versus Vinicius. Now, there was a report that did surface onto the media that stated Araujo will start as a right back versus Real Madrid, while Koundé and Christensen will be the center back pairing. So this is very interesting because usually we come out with the idea of having Koundé as the right back, Araujo and Christensen as the center back duo with Alejandro Balde on the left, but there is going to be some tweaks within this lineup, and in my opinion, Xavi is making a great decision. This is a great idea to have Araujo go into the right back position and to face Vinicius. Now you may say, but Kevin, didn't Barcelona lose 3-1 against Real Madrid in the previous meeting, and didn't Araujo fail to defend against Vinicius? Well, if we assess that game and who was in that squad, Araujo and Christensen were not there, so we never saw Araujo face against Vinicius. Usually when we see these two battle laid out on the wings, Araujo always does win. But in that match where Barcelona did lose 3-1, it was Sergi Roberto versus Vinicius. And we had a backline of Balde, Eric Garcia, Koundé, and Sergi Roberto. So of course, that is one of the biggest reasons on why Real Madrid saw that win. Now you may also say that that had nothing to do with Sergi Roberto. He made no difference. It came down to the collective performance. I would say otherwise, because if you look at how Real Madrid scored their goals, they knew that the weak link was on Barcelona's right side, which was Sergi Roberto. The first goal literally came through the left side with Vinicius blasting through Sergi Roberto. He receives the ball and then Benzema gets that deflection and he scores the goal. The second goal also came through Barcelona's right side and Real Madrid's left side. The assist came from Mendy. He was completely unmarked. He was not even pressured by one of the right backs, which was in this case Sergi Roberto, and Valverde in the end ended up scoring that goal with again the assist coming from Mendy. The third goal from Real Madrid also came yet again from Barcelona's right side and Real Madrid's left side. Vinicius and Modric were just dominating, outplaying Sergi Roberto and the other players around that area. Real Madrid had all the time in the world to switch the ball. They switched the ball all the way to the right side with ease, and then Benzema ends up scoring that goal. So knowing that Real Madrid are going to be having that right side completely covered this time because Araujo is going to be there, they're not going to be having any real outlet to play through, which is going to be very interesting to see. So now let's move on towards the second key battle, which will consist of Ter Stegen versus Benzema. I think that Benzema has not been in his best form, but I know that when it comes to the Clásicos, Benzema is going to want to come out and score about 1 to 2 goals, which makes me believe that Ter Stegen is going to be tested a lot. And you and me know how great Ter Stegen has been for FC Barcelona. He has been amazing, making 2 saves during the penalties in the semifinals, making 3 saves during the 90-minute game span against Real Betis, and so we should see a very exciting battle. I think that one of the reasons why Ter Stegen is in top form, it is because he took time to really recover his right knee. He also worked with a personal trainer to work on his movements, and so he has been putting a lot of work behind the scenes to get to this level, and now it's a matter of can he be doing this consistently. Let's move on towards key battle number 3, and I think that it will be Lewandowski versus Militao or Rudiger, or whoever is going to be playing in that center back position. And so let me explain, right, because I think that Lewandowski has yet to be a real Clásico impactor. In my opinion, Barcelona do need to have a vintage Lewandowski in this game, and every time we do have a vintage Lewandowski, right, a Lewandowski that is on his A game, Barcelona do end up winning. And if we can have a Lewandowski in his prime against Real Madrid, we can score goals. We can go ahead of Real Madrid and be winning 2-0 or maybe even 3-0. The coach of Real Madrid, Ancelotti, did admit that they need to improve on their defending. This is something that he did say during the semifinal match against Valencia, because they do concede a lot of silly mistakes, right? He literally did admit this. They make so many silly mistakes. They have done it against Valencia. They have done it against Villarreal. And when you have a backline of Carvajal, Mendy, Militao, Rudiger, that type of backline usually does concede the most goals and make silly mistakes. And that is where Lewandowski can take advantage and score about 2 or 3 goals. Now I know that Militao is doubtful right now, but everything does indicate that he will be starting in that backline. And in the end, Real Madrid are just not in their best moment. And I think that Lewandowski can hurt this team on the ground and also in the air. So again, it's going to come down to Lewandowski versus that defensive line, and hopefully Lewandowski can deliver. So now let's move on towards the next phase of this video, video. And now let's talk about Moukoko and Eric Garcia. And I want to say one thing, and I want to say this first before anything else. I'm very well aware that what I'm going to be saying here is something that could happen. I don't necessarily think that everything is true that we see on the media. The only reason why I do want to talk about these two stories regarding Moukoko and Eric Garcia is because you guys have been asking me for my opinion, and I want to just put this opinion out there within this video. But again, just because I am talking about this does not mean that this is true. This could be completely fake. But again, let's just assume that some of these things are true. And let's start with Moukoko and the crazy story that has came out as of late. And it does say here that the real age of the Dortmund star Moukoko is claimed to be 22 years old, not 18 years old, according to documents given to the media by Moukoko's stepfather. And so he was born in the year of 2000. Now, again, I do have a lot of trouble believing that this is real. Like, can you imagine everybody that works within professional football just makes a mistake that this player is not actually 18, he's actually 22 years old? That would be unbelievable. That would also explain why he has been so good on the youth level, because he was playing against players who were like 7 or 8 years younger than him. So it would be crazy. And would it make it less appealing knowing his level and knowing his actual age? No, I still think that with him performing like this, he's still very good for his age, which again, in this case, could be 22 years old. But I highly do doubt that this is true, and so I'm going to be ruling it off. The other story regarding Moukoko was this, and it does say here that Moukoko does not want to go to the Premier League and is close to renewing at Dortmund with a Barcelona clause in his contract, and this is according to Sports. Now, there has been many sources claiming that Moukoko will renew with Dortmund, right? This most likely is 99.9% true, but there is going to be a very cheap release clause, a release clause that anybody could afford. Me hearing that Moukoko's renewal is going to be having a Barcelona clause is my first time hearing this. The only thing that we have been hearing is that there has been a cheap clause integrated within the renewal of Moukoko. And look, Moukoko and Borussia Dortmund, they know the future intentions. Dortmund know where Moukoko wants to go. Moukoko knows where he also wants to go. And there is no reason for Dortmund to make the transfer of Moukoko very difficult, because Dortmund have never made it difficult for any of their players. They have always made it very easy. They always, if anything, really wanted their players to go into a bigger club, because that is what Dortmund is. So what is true is that the release clause is going to be low. As for the Barcelona clause, look, we have heard this story before with Lautaro Martinez receiving that Barcelona clause, supposedly, right, back in 2019, with Erling Haaland also receiving that Barcelona clause that was integrated by Mino Raiola about a year and a half ago, and that did not end up being true. So the only exclusivity that I think Barcelona do have is, or will have, will be a personal agreement, and that's about it. So now let's move on towards the last story of today, which will be Eric Garcia. And it says here that Barcelona will listen to offers for Eric Garcia this month, with the player also willing to talk. His departure would be good for the club's financial fair play situation. So has Eric Garcia lost prominence within this squad? Yes, and that is because of injury, right? Eric Garcia did encounter an injury, and I think that his level has lowered. But honestly, I don't think that Barcelona is going to try and sell this player, Eric Garcia, in January because of financial fair play. He barely makes any difference when it comes to financial fair play. He barely earns any sort of wages. And then you also take into account the sometimes poor performances coming from Marcos Alonso, with Gerard Piqué leaving, with Araujo and Koundé playing in every game and possibly playing 2 games a week. It would make sense to just keep Eric Garcia for the next 4 to 5 months. It would make no sense to let go of Eric Garcia in January, in the middle of the season. And there has been times where Eric Garcia has shown a great level. Again, it doesn't make any sense. Now, will I rule off Barcelona selling Eric Garcia in the summer? I would not completely rule that off. I think that it could be possible, because that would be a window of opportunity where Barcelona can say, yes, we'll let go of Eric Garcia. Yes, it could be a mistake because he's so young, but we'll bring in a brand new center back to back up Eric Garcia. But in January, it's just a different conversation. You'll feel the difference. You'll feel the impact of Eric Garcia leaving in the middle of the season. It wouldn't make, again, any sense at all, which makes me say that this Eric Garcia report, it is fake. So that will be wrapping up today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.